It's like people who stutter, they they can get these little devices that play their voice back in their ear to them, and it'll help them stutter less because they can it's like they can sync up how they're speaking to it's weird. I don't really know the science behind it and stuff, but I was talking to somebody um my husband's aunt invited this guy to I this is the first time I ever met him. He came to Thanksgiving this past year. And he has a stutter. And I was talking to him about it just because, things like that interest me. And he said
Hmm.
they only work for a little while though. So that's he said your brain, like for a while, it outsmarts your brain and it works. And
Yeah,
the brain gets used to it and then it stops working. And so
yeah.
we tried it,
It
but so I thought that was
it
cool.
just
That's
kind
the
of
extent of
tunes
my
it
knowledge.
out or something.
I guess. I don't know. That's the extent of my knowledge. I know nothing about anything further than that. And maybe one day I'll find an expert to bring on here who knows more about those things.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, food, right?
Yeah.
We want to talk
Yeah.
about food. Um, I where do I even go with this? Tell me about your food stuff, because I talk about my food stuff all the time.
I have such. Are you sure you want to get into this? 'Cause,
Yes, I am
like
sure.
it can.
We have time to fill.
Well, the biggest thing is just because I always worry that my conversations about food will be they can either be abrasive, like annoying, or triggery because, I struggle with body image and food and binging and, you know, abstaining and all of that stuff. So, um, I am, and it's so funny because without thinking, I started reading a book this week. Well, listening to. I don't ever have time to sit and read, but listening to a book. Um, it's called Supergut. Have you ever read that?
Maybe I actually try to, I have a lot of people who are always bringing me books about food because they're like, I know you're into healthy eating and all of this. So here's you a book. And I'm like, oh no, thank you. I'm not going to read this because I, like you said, food is a really in-depth subject that can be really triggering and really trauma. Um, like people have a lot of trauma around it. And
Yeah.
especially like our age, like it started getting better with the generations underneath us. We started to be more body positive and stuff, but we were still, in the 90s when we were growing up, it was like you were still um, watching. There's these clips online that you can find of interviews of actresses and singers and just famous people, and the interviewers are like, how do you feel since you gained 10 pounds? And did you lose that role because you weren't skinny enough? And like, it was just really damaging. Um, so yes, most of us, I think, have similar issues with all of these. And then
Mhm.
fast forward through a lot of stuff, because I mean, we could probably do a 5-hour episode on all of this. Um, when I, because we thought we knew what healthy eating was, but we didn't actually know what healthy eating was. And when my mid 20s, when I really started figuring it out and like realizing I didn't know what it was and trying to experiment and research and all of that, it got really overwhelming really quick. And I landed on there is no one size fits all solution to any food problems, any food,
Mhm.
anything. So, and the more information you get, the more counterproductive a lot of times it can be because, the mental stress and the mental stuff will have you, um, because again, if you already struggle with, depriving yourself, and then you get a book that says, the conflicting information of this book says that quinoa is great. And then this book says that quinoa is poison. It really, it's like, what can I eat? Okay,
Right.
let me just survive on water. No, I can't eat that. I can't even drink water. Water's poison?
Yeah.
Like literally everything's poison. So I just kind of like
Yeah.
shut down and I don't intake any more information about food. I just experiment firsthand with myself. But anyway, circling back
Yeah.
around, tell me about your book.
Okay. Well, okay. We'll go around in a circle on this too because I have some things to say about what you were saying. Um, so yeah, because first of all, I grew up, um, I graduated in high school in 1999. If you look at any pictures of any, like Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, Avril Lavigne, it's all like this much of your belly. We had low-rise jeans then, and
Oh,
your hip bones always had to show,
oh, I hate that.
and I grew up with my mom and my stepmom and all of the women on my mom's side of the family were all just tiny, tiny women, like 5 foot tall, 90 pounds at best, like tiny, tiny women. And, so I always grew up hearing, oh, well, you got your dad's bone structure. You're gonna be bigger like your dad,
True.
and all of this stuff. And I'm like, and then my stepmom, when I moved in with my dad and them or her at 14. So from 14 to 18, I had a stepmom who controlled how much sugar I ate, would tell me, you're gaining too much weight. You need to walk at least a mile on the treadmill every single night.
That's so dangerous.
Like it is. And I literally, like, no joke, I weighed 97 pounds the day I graduated high school. And I thought I was huge. And but once I got out of the house, because, I left home 2 weeks after I turned 18. Like, as soon as 18 happened, I was out.
Oh, same.
And so that got better because I didn't have, somebody in my ear all the time.
Yes.
And so, but I never really had any issues. Like, I could pretty well eat whatever I wanted. It didn't give me like symptoms. I didn't physically react to anything. And at 20 years old, I surely didn't hardly gain any weight. I was really lucky. I always said that God blessed me with a fast metabolism because he knew that I couldn't diet because I get so hangry. Like, I just have terrible mood swings when I don't eat. But anyway, and then when I hit my 30s, I started having awful reactions to everything that I ate. And I was like, what happened? I used to be able to eat whatever I wanted, and now I'm reacting to everything. So add on all the trauma and everything that I was, had gone through. I was just in a terrible, terrible state. So I started trying to figure out, what I actually needed to be eaten. And I lived off of salads for quite a while. Like, the bag salad that you'll get at the store that has like all the different lettuces and stuff in it.
Yeah.
I would eat one of those a day. Like, I was eating a lot of salad and I just kept feeling worse and worse and worse. And I mean, I still ate meat and everything, but I was like, I am eating all these vegetables. Like, all these vegetables. How am I not feeling better? How am I not, losing any weight? So I tried multiple different things and then I ended up on carnivore. And I don't react to anything on carnivore because it's all meat. And so when I switched to carnivore, I felt so good. I was like, this is it. I'm never eating any other way. And it's been almost 2 years since I've lived, pretty much been on a meat or animal based. I eat cheese and stuff like that. So I say animal based diet. But it's really not work. I mean, it's not, once the initial, I felt so much better, um, happened because, I mean, when you've got all the joint pain and the skin issues and the fatigue and like I couldn't even walk up a flight of stairs without being out of breath and having to like sit there for a minute. And I'm like, I'm not 90. I'm not, there should be no reason why I can't walk upstairs. So once after the initial like phase wore off, I'm noticing like I don't have the endurance that I want to have. Plus, it's not sustainable for me. Like I binge. I think I told you, like I'll eat some broccoli or a carrot, and I'm like, well, I'm not eating carnivore today, so I'm just gonna go eat an entire box of Little Debbie cakes. Like
Logic.
so. Yes, I'm trying to find something that's a little more sustainable for me that still works for my body. And because you're talking about the conflicting evidence. Like you can find so much evidence on vegan, why vegan's great for you. You can find so much evidence on why carnivore is great for you. You
Mhm.
know, raw
Literally,
food, you know,
there's probably
paleo.
studies out there for little Debbie's and how
Yes,
they're
I'm
actually
sure.
fine.
Well, I mean, you've seen
Whole
the
diet
meme,
of little Debbie's.
about how so many people a year choke on broccoli and it's like a donut never killed anybody.
Maybe not initially, not a acute death,
Yes.
but
Yeah, definitely.
long, slow,
I,
painful.
yes. So, but I'm trying to find what works for me.
Mm.
And I think that, like you said, that's different for everybody. I think everybody's body reacts a different way to everything. So my book, it is called Supergut by William Davis. He's a cardiologist. And it is about all the bacteria and fungi that live in our bodies.
Yes.
And so, have you heard it, or you just know what I'm talking about with the fungi and the?
Yeah, I just know what you're talking about.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if you had read the book. I was going to
Yeah.
save you the spiel,
Oh, yeah,
but
because you gotta remember it's not just me and you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody is born with different bacteria. Did you know that if a baby born vaginally has a different bacteria makeup than a baby born by cesarean?
Yep, sure
I
does.
did not. I did not know that. So,
And it
well,
sets
yeah,
you up
you're.
for like your immune system and your digestive abilities, and it sets you up for everything.
Yeah,
Remember, I'm birth doula here.
I know. That's why I was like, yeah, you probably didn't.
Uh-huh.
I
But
didn't.
most
I
people
didn't know that.
don't. There's
No.
there's we could go on a whole I could do a whole episode alone on the long-term effects of vaginal birth versus cesarean.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing. It's lots and lots and lots of things.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. I so wish that I could have advocated better for myself during my pregnancies. Like I just didn't know. I don't. So
No, and you can't beat yourself up about it because none of us know. And
right.
they've made it into a scary situation. Like
Yeah.
the media, the doctors, the system, movies, they like everything, everywhere you turn has made birth as scary as they possibly can. So we're all terrified of it to the point of
Yeah.
like we don't even want to look at it or think about it. Like pregnant moms, they'll 2 weeks before birth have like huge panic attacks because they've suppressed the thought of like all of it. So they've done zero research, so they know absolutely nothing about what's going on. And or they'll, go into the birth and just be like with blinders up and completely place their life and their baby's life in the hands of the doctors and the staff and be like, whatever you want me to do, just tell me what to do. And I'm like, that is so not what you want to do, trust me. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yes. So, it's all about um, feeding the good bacteria and getting rid of the bad bacteria. And so it's about SIBO and SIFO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth.
okay.
So it's, the small intestine is not supposed to have like a ton of bacteria in it. that is where the lower intestine and the colon comes in with all the bacteria. And so when you get too much growth of the bad bacteria, it moves up into the small intestine and then starts giving you like leaky gut and all of these symptoms.
Well, okay.
So I was like, maybe I just need to work on my gut bacteria.
Hmm.
And so, which I was already kind of getting there anyway with fermentation and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
um,
That's always
so
the
that
first
just,
place I tell people to start. Like in real life, it's not some, well, I've talked about it online too. It is the first place you should start is making sure your gut bacteria is supported. And
yeah,
there's really no way to really know if like how your gut bacteria is doing in there. I mean, you could probably go get some really uncomfortable tests done, but it's better to just know that the good bacteria does crowd out the bad bacteria if you support it properly. And so
yeah,
you just focus on that first.
yeah. So there's this recipe for some yogurt, which I've been making my own yogurt for
Really?
forever. Yes, I love making my own yogurt.
How do you do that?
Um, it is so easy, like so easy. I have a yogurt sitting on my Instant Pot.
Oh,
So, yes.
I didn't,
So, huh?
I didn't know it was a cooked situation. You know, I don't know
Yeah,
anything
well, it's
how to
it's
prepare
not
it.
necessarily a cooked situation as far as it just needs to keep it kind of like at an optimal temperature for bacterial growth, which is
Okay.
like 100 and something degrees. So the Instant Pot is insulated, so you know it holds temperature good. So, but it's really easy. You just like heat it up to 190 degrees, which in an Instant Pot, you know, it's easy. You just mash the button until it says boil, and then you boil it for a certain amount of time because that kills off any bacteria that's already in the milk that you don't want that will compete with the yogurt cultures that you put in there.
Okay.
So then you like boil it and then you bring it back down to like 90 degrees, you know, sit it in the pot in a bowl of or a sink full of cold water or something to get it down to your temperature. Then you mix your culture in, which can be like 2 tablespoons of a plain unflavored yogurt, and you mix that together and you set it up and you can ferment it. It sits in the Instant Pot on the counter for like 12 to 24 hours, depending on how tangy you like your yogurt. And then for Greek yogurt, you just pour it in a cheesecloth, like in a colander, sitting in a bowl, and let all the whey drain off of it, and it gets good and thick, like Greek yogurt's supposed to be. So, and that's it. That's all you got to do.
And then you like store it in the fridge.
Yes, yes.
Cool.
So, but there is the recipe for the yogurt that's in the book is specifically to help with bacterial overgrowth. It's got a strain of bacteria that is not in store-bought yogurt. It's called, I'm just going to say L. reuteri because I can't pronounce the whole lactobacillus name, but it's L. reuteri. And it used to be in our GI tracts, but it's not anymore. Not in most, like the Western world. 96% of people. This is his statistics, not mine. So, but he says in the book that 96% of people in Western culture don't even have this bacteria in their GI tracts anymore. And it causes the brain to release oxytocin.
Oh,
So, like the love, yes, the love hormone and empathy and seeing other people's points of view and all of that stuff, it causes your brain to release that. So I'm like, I can kind of get behind that lots of people are
yeah.
missing some
Oh,
oxytocin
yeah,
in their
for
life.
sure. For sure. Serotonin.
Yeah,
Everybody's miserable.
it is. Yes,
I've said that for
definitely.
years, and Blake's like, um, you don't know how people feel. And I was like, I kind of do, though. If you were paying attention, like, nobody's happy.
No, not for the most part, they're not.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm like, I might try this yogurt out and start feeding it to everybody in my house too.
And how long have you been doing that?
I have got to order the stuff. I heard about it. I actually, the reason why I bought the book is because I had heard about the yogurt. Somebody that I watched on YouTube was dealing with gut issues. And of course, I'm always researching gut issues because I have all of them. And she was doing a review on this yogurt that she tried, and it cured her SIBO. And she was talking about how once she got the bacteria, because she had basically went carnivore because of, food intolerances. And she said that once she did the yogurt and actually healed the bacteria in her gut and her gut biome, she's like, I can eat regular food again. I don't have the issues. I mean, granted, she's not going back to eating all the things that damage the good bacteria, but she can at least eat some cooked vegetables without feeling like she can't leave the house for a week.
And that's crazy that stuff like vegetables can cause issues. I mean, like I understand like having certain intolerances and allergies and stuff,
Mhm.
but like it blows my mind that fruits and vegetables are something people's bodies just like some people's bodies just can't take.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think for the most part, I think that plants are something that we should be able to eat. At least, not all of them, but, food plants, I think we should be able to eat. But I think that, like my gut had gotten so damaged between, long-term stress, I mean, 10 years basically in a survival situation. And then just lots of things that didn't go good for my gut health. And so I think I just got mine so messed up that like I was just reacting to everything. So I'm trying really hard to work on gut health lately.
Yeah, people don't realize that stress has a lot to do with how well you digest food, how well you tolerate food, how well you absorb the nutrients and vitamins
Mhm.
inside that food. There's all sorts of things that can, our mental state. We have neurons in our GI tract, just like we have neurons in our brain. Uh,
Hmm.
Also in our heart, there looks like there is actually more neurons in our gut and heart than there is in our brain. And more information goes from the gut and the heart to the brain than the other way around. And which is funny because, we think that the brain is the operating system for the entire body. And turns out, well, it's like a interchangeable feed, like there's information going both ways, but supporting one helps the other and vice versa. We're a whole being, not just sectioned off into a gut. And that's the thing, a lot of people want to, like, oh, I'm having gut issues. Let me focus solely on the gut. And we're not even looking at the stress levels. We're not looking at, um, mindset. We're not looking and all of that ties back in because you're like, well, how does my belief system have anything to do with processing my food and how my body reacts to it? And well, it'll really hold you back in well, for one, you start to notice your patterns, like, oh, I'm messing myself up by the binging and purging. And I'm messing myself up by withholding the nutrients that I need, the vitamins I need. Um, Lots of things. Lots of things.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, if you're fighting for your life, you're not going to stop and eat some food. I mean, so your body's not ready. It's like we're not eating right now. We're not digesting food. What are you doing
Yeah.
putting stuff in here?
Yeah, the
You know?
opposite of yeah, when you're in that fight, flight, or freeze response,
Hmm.
digestive tract is essentially completely shut down because we're not digesting food. If you're right, we're not digesting food like that. The opposite of fight or flight is the rest and digest. Rest, digest, and heal. So the calmer you are, the more you can control your stress levels, and it always comes back to stress. That's always the number one. Everything I've studied always comes back to stress levels. Nothing, and it's energy. You got to control your energy. You got to learn how to uh, manipulate your own energy within yourself so that to support your gut, to support your mental health, to support your lifestyle, your choices. Like everything comes back to energy. If you're frantic and stressed out and anxious, not only are you not digesting your food, you're not absorbing the nutrients in it. The water, even the water just goes straight through. It doesn't get absorbed into your cells, so you're still dehydrated. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I
So
am like,
that bacteria you were talking about though, that most of us don't have,
mhm.
is that in the yogurt that you're making like already, just naturally, or that you said you have to get that to add to your yogurt?
Yes, sorry, I
Okay.
got, okay, yes.
Careful.
So I've got to order, have it in my cart right now to order the strain of bacteria. It's not in like store-bought yogurt. So I've never had access to it. So I'm going to order that strain and I'm going to start making that yogurt and see how it does.
Cool. Shoot me the link for that and I'll add it to the show notes. So if anybody else wants to get some, they can do that.
Okay.
And we'll find a yogurt recipe to post to.
All right. I might have one. I think I do. Or either I can send you, I don't know if you want to like link up to the original YouTube video that I found talking
Sure.
about the yogurt.
Perfect.
So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I can,
Absolutely. Send me that.
I'll send it to you. Um, but oh, there were so many points that I had like while we were talking. I'm like, hold on, wait your turn. And
Sorry.
now they're gone.
Here, let's
No, no,
pause
no.
for a second. And
Okay.
I got to let my cat out so she'll stop clawing my window up. Yeah, most all yogurts have the same like three cultures in them.
Mm-hmm.
And then with making your own, you're for sure avoiding like all the extra sugars and the preservatives and whatever else they're putting in there for like color or red dye 4.
Thickening,
You're getting
thickening agents.
thickening agents. Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Most foodstuffs are only supposed to have like three ingredients. And
Yeah.
I love that we're moving back towards making our own stuff. Like everybody's a homesteader now. Everybody wants to be a homesteader, and it's because we don't we've finally I think about all the time how we want to blame our forerunners, our parents and our grandparents, and like, why did you do things the way you did them? And it's like, well, they didn't have a fraction of the access to information that we do now. And so, used and not only did they not have access to the information, but the culture was that being smart was nerdy and you were a loser if you were smart and nerdy, and why you got your nose in a
Yeah.
book all the time, you nerd, you're such a loser. And
Yeah.
you don't want to be like that. You want to be a cool kid. So
Yeah.
cool kids don't read books.
Right. Well, and also like our grandparents had to work their asses off, like it was hard work, physical labor, sun up, sun down, and all of that stuff. So, I mean, when somebody came around and was like, we have this awesome new way for you to take care of, things and eat your food. You can just go to the supermarket and get your food. And like, I could imagine if I had been doing something
Oh yeah.
hard my whole life and
Interesting.
then somebody came to me and was like, "Hey, this is an easier way to do it." I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, why have I not been doing it this way the whole time?" So I mean, you I don't blame them. I would want to try to do something a little easier too. But the thing is, now we're seeing where the easy way is not always the best way, but
Well,
you don't always know that,
the
you know?
people who put it together in the first place took advantage of us.
Hmm.
So that's the thing. That's the problem is that now we're putting together that convenience culture is not the best way to go about things. Um,
Hmm.
but it's only because the people who set up the convenience culture in the first place took advantage of us and cut corners and were in it for profits instead of like the well-being of the general public. So they're like, oh, we could use just these three ingredients for this thing, but those three ingredients are kind of pricey. Uh,
Hmm.
so instead, let's use these 25 much, 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 much cheaper, essentially poisons. So,
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. And it's so funny because you get so used to, like my husband, if a strawberry doesn't look perfect, or like a piece of
oh
fruit or
yeah.
a vegetable, if it doesn't look perfect, he's like, "There's something wrong with that. I'm not eating it."
Oh yeah.
And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah. Isn't it crazy? My mother-in-law will not eat farm eggs. She will only eat eggs from the store. Like, make it make sense. Make it make
I
sense.
don't,
It
I
don't.
know, it don't. No.
Where
And
do
like,
you think eggs come from, Brenda?
so I have the advantage, I think, because when I was a kid, I grew up with like my dad worked at a chicken house for a period of time.
Oh,
He
my
worked on a
grandfather owned
hog
a chicken house.
farm.
I worked at
Yeah.
I worked at them too.
Yeah. And, he worked on a hog farm for a period of time. And when we were younger, like they couldn't afford a babysitter for all these random breaks that we get in school. So they'll be like, okay, well, you're going to work with me today. So I would hang out, and have to work in the chicken house or the hog farm. And I seen the living conditions and I seen how those animals live. And so I have at least the insight of I would rather eat a farm egg
Mm-hmm.
than a chicken house egg. But I mean, but now I, I don't want to get so caught up in that because I mean, obviously eating is better than not eating.
Yes, yes, which comes back to like if we're already struggling, everything's poison and we should just learn how to survive off sunshine
Yes. But
and
the
breath work.
sunshine is not good for us either.
Sunshine and breath work. Right. Moderation. Oh,
Sun,
why is
sunshine is
being
not good
alive
for us
so
and the air
hard?
is poison.
Everything's poison. Just kill me now and be
I know. None of us know what the hell we're doing. We're just
no.
trying our best. We're just trying to make it.
So how I don't think we've ever talked about like are, how from here are you?
Grew up in New Hope, Alabama, with
Okay.
a whopping population of 2,000 people. So it's only like an hour. Where I grew up at is only like an hour and a half from here. No, about an hour, a little over an hour, depending on traffic.
And then your
So,
parents and grandparents also from
yep,
that area?
all from New Hope.
What
Yeah.
about their parents and their parents? How many
Um,
generations does it go back?
my mom actually grew up in Florida, and I was born in Florida. We moved up here when I was 3 weeks old.
Okay.
So, my mom is from Florida. My grandparents, I am trying to think. My dad's, like my mom's parents were from Florida and always in Florida. I don't know a ton about that side of the family because I wasn't around them that much.
Hmm.
Um, But as far as I know, I think they were mostly all from Florida. And then my dad and all of his family was from Alabama. But as far as my dad's dad, I don't know. I wasn't around him a whole lot. My biological paternal grandfather, I wasn't around him that much. The guy or the man that I grew up knowing as my grandfather, he was my dad's stepdad.
Okay.
So he was from Georgia. So we're all from pretty well from the South.
Yeah.
But and I know my grandmother on my dad's side has was always in Alabama.
Yeah, people don't understand. We get a lot of we historically, and it's changing for sure, but historically they're like, "Oh, you're from Alabama in the backwoods. There's like 100 years behind everybody else and everything." And that's not wrong, but like people don't understand that it was nothing here but farms for a like hundreds of years until the past like what would you say like 30, 40 years is when we started getting like we're kind of like the space Silicon Valley or whatever.
Yeah, I think we are definitely moving more towards like space and defense and engineering and stuff like that now. But yeah, up until like 30 years ago, um,
It was just farms.
it was just farms.
And
Like,
that's so funny
I,
that we went from just backwoods farms to like my dad talks all the time about how they didn't have running water until he was a teenager. And they had outhouses because they didn't have running water. There was no plumbing. And like people don't understand that like my dad grew up. He was born in 69, I think, something like.
Mhm.
So I mean he's not super old. He's in his 50s. And we went from that was the norm. Everybody had 12 kids. Every one of my grandparents are one of like 10 to 14 children, like every single one of them. And, which is why I have such a big family. And, there's no trauma there. But it's so funny that we went from that being the norm to, oh, now we're all engineers and rocket scientists.
Yeah, yeah. I know my oldest son told me he was thinking about doing nuclear engineering, and I'm like, I
Okay.
mean, if he wants to and he can't, that's what he chooses to work towards. I mean, I'm definitely proud of him, but it's like, it's so crazy to even think about, you know, like you said, going from all farming and not having indoor plumbing to now we're all, engineers. And
Yeah.
so,
I had
yeah.
I had so I grew up on a bunch of farms. Like I always make jokes about, I was literally raised in a barn. Yes, I was. Um since like we had again such a big family and my family goes back to this location at least a couple of 100 years. And so I had one grandfather that owned chicken houses and had horses. So like I was with him a lot. And then I had my grandmother I had a grandmother that lived on her road was all her siblings. So she lived in this house and then her nephew lived in the next house, her son and his family lived in the next house, and the next house was her brother and his wife, and across the road was her other brother and his wife, and they had collectively probably like 200 acres on both sides of the road. And this is like it's like a almost gravel road. It's like single lane, almost gravel, so backwoods. And they had collectively on both sides of the road about 200 acres that I grew up on. And that was cows and ostriches. They had ostriches. So that was an interesting bring up. Um, and then my grandparents that I credit with raising me, they're the ones that had me most. They were farm hands. So we would that's what they did. We would get in their truck and we would go up to Tennessee and we would go to this farm and work on the fence today. And then tomorrow we'd go to this other farm and vaccinate cows. And then the next day we'd go to this other farm and move their cows from this pasture to that pasture. And so like, yeah, and now we're all engineers. Everybody I know is an engineer.
Yeah. And it's funny talking about cows. It just popped into my mind, but I literally traded a cow for a car in my like early 20s.
Where'd you get a cow to trade?
Huh?
Where'd you get a cow to trade? We need more information.
Okay, so my first husband was a farmer. So when we got married, his dad gave me a cow. And yeah, I got a cow for a wedding present. So this is so funny.
It fits your
It,
personality. I bet you loved that cow. I bet you
I
were like,
did. I
wonderful.
did. He would get so mad because I had it so spoiled that he couldn't work on the fence or anything. He would call me and he's like, "Hey, I got to go work on the fence. You need to come down here and deal with your cow," because he would be like on the ground, pulling wire, and the cow's licking his face. It's pulling shit out of his truck. I mean, he's like, "You've got to come deal with this cow." So, but anyway, yeah, I got a cow for a wedding present. And so, when the cow would have a baby, we would sell the calf or we would, raise it up to eat it, just whatever we needed to do at the time. And so I needed a car. So I traded the calf that my cow had for a car.
Nice. What kind of car was it?
It was a piece of crap Pontiac that reverse kept going out on. I would have to park on a hill because I'd have to put it in neutral and roll back because reverse went out all the time. But it got me from point A to point B until I could do better.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Have you got a new vehicle yet? Because me and you, people don't know, me and you were car twins. We had the same vehicle, but yours is out of commission now.
Yes, sadly. Yes, I went last night. That's what we did for Valentine's Day was went to
Oh.
Tennessee. And I actually bought the car last weekend, but I wasn't able to bring it home because it was in Tennessee. And Ethan is not 16 yet, so he couldn't drive without me in the car, and it was just me and him. So, yes, I went last night and got my car, and so I am back to having my own vehicle again. I'm still sad. I miss the Acadia. Like, this car is, I mean, it's okay and it's gonna do fine and it'll serve its purpose, but I definitely liked the Acadia a lot better.
What is it? What'd you get?
It's a 2022 Malibu.
Okay, cool.
So,
Color.
yeah, it's silver.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm having to adjust to going back to a car instead of an SUV. So
Yeah.
that's that's gonna be
I'm an
which
SUV person for sure.
I, I am too, and I had actually thought about getting a truck because um really now I don't need, I mean, Edward will be 16 next year. Ethan turned 16 next week. Edward will be 16 next year. So I'm about to not really have to have, third row seating and all of that stuff that I did need, hauling kids,
And
band,
friends.
soccer, football. So I was like, maybe I should just get a truck because the inside of my SUV was always so dirty because hauling hay and all of that stuff in it. I was like, I just need a truck. But the prices of trucks are crazy.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So I went ahead and just got a car for now and because it was more in my price range and I really just needed something that would be able to be passed down to Edward when he turned 16. So I was like, well, this will do for now and I'll figure the rest out later.
Yeah. Blake's been trying to get me a new vehicle for like a year at least. And I don't want one. We've almost got this paid off. And he's like, so we're talking about it yesterday because you're talking about how the reverse didn't work in that car. And this one doesn't really, Acadia is kind of they kind of do have a little bit of a reputation for things going wrong. And I'm on my second one. Or yeah. Is there a third? I don't know. I can't keep track of anything, but uh we've almost got it paid off. And I told him, I was like, look, we'll just pay it off and we'll keep it. And that's our third row because, we still have a long way to go because he's been looking for like a year and we're so limited on what has a third row but isn't obnoxiously large. Because I
Hmm.
don't want anything bigger. I don't, I don't, parking spaces are just getting smaller and smaller.
They
So,
are.
no, thank you. I don't want anything bigger that I have to park. Um, but I think I've convinced him that we're just going to pay this off and keep it as a third vehicle, and then we can have a little bit more flexibility in what we want to get from there, in addition to this one. That just makes sense. But he drove it yesterday for the first time in like a month. We just don't drive it anymore. We drive his truck all over the place, and the the screen went dark. Like you could still see it, you could still read it and everything. And he was just like, and so he went in a rant and raving about that. He thinks that everything should be perfect all of the time and
Hmm.
nothing's allowed to go wrong. And he's like, you don't care at all. And I'm like, I am realistic in the sense that like you're not going to have anything without its quirks, like at
Yeah.
all, especially something that's almost paid off.
Yes.
You're gonna
Yeah.
have quirks. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. The Acadia, I remember I had to get some shifter, like I had to have shifter work done with it because it wouldn't go into park. And then I had to have the screen replaced because my screen went out too. So yeah, shifters and screens are like the
Yeah,
worst things with the Acadias.
mine does the same thing yours was doing with the shift to park.
Yeah.
And I just ignore it most of the time. It'll start like it's in park. It is in park. I promise you. I promise you it
Yeah.
is in park. But it'll swear up and down it's not, and it'll just ding on you, and it will refuse to lock the doors. And sometimes, I'm like, I don't have time to mess with you. I'm just gonna have to hope that nobody tries to break into you. I mean, like, I don't know. I guess just don't leave anything in it. Which, where we live, we pretty much like we don't lock anything anyway. We're very lucky in the area that we live in. Like most of our neighbors are related to us or anyway, so
Yeah. Yeah.
we gotta
I know.
pause real quick. My parents just pulled up with my daughter.
Okay.
All right,
All
BRB.
right. Okay.
You were trying to say something before I cut you off. Do you remember what it was?
I don't. I
Okay.
don't.
We can
It
just
could
pick
have
back up
been
with food.
okay.
Because
Yeah, because I mean, we had gotten off of the subject of trading cows for cars and everything else. So how is your garden going? Are
Okay,
y'all
so
still?
yeah, we're working on it. Did I tell you that I'm doing a co-op thing this year?
You did.
And I've almost included you because they're all looking to me like I know things and I don't know anything. And I'm always asking you about the things. And I'm like,
Yeah.
they'll ask me and I'm like, you just gotta Google it. And they're like, what? I'm like, Google it. I'm like, what do you mean Google it? I'm like, that's what I'm gonna have to do. So I could stand here with you while you stare at me and I Google it for you. Or
Yeah.
you can just handle it and I can go like keep focusing on the task that I was doing. It's,
Right.
like anyway, we're working on it. The rain has really put us back. So, because you want the dirt to be wet to plant the seeds. Like it's a lot better to work with wet dirt, but also everything that needs to be planted right now is straight to dirt instead of like starting the seeds.
Hmm.
And it's been so much rain that they'll get washed away.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I know. Me and Rachel were actually supposed to try. We had tentatively set today to try to go through seeds together and everything because, it's always easier to get motivated when you have somebody,
Be
else
good
there
with
with
you.
you. And I've got so many seeds that honestly, I'm like a seed hoarder. And honestly, like, I'm like, nobody, if you know me, please don't buy any seeds. Come look through mine because I guarantee you I've got something that you could probably grow. But we were going to do that, but she had to go back to Arizona. So, yeah. But so anyway, I've got to start some seeds and I need to do some direct sow, but with the storms coming in tonight, I'm not doing that either.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to garden season and trying, Justin just came home, trying vegetables again that I grow myself. So that's what I'm hoping that I get to do.
Yeah, and we were talking about Rachel Bell's that was on a couple of episodes ago too, if anybody's interested. But
Yeah.
yeah, I gotta fix the greenhouse also. The door's broken, so
Um,
it won't shut. And we were just kind of propping it shut, like we're putting something in front of it to keep it shut. But
mhm.
the paneling has come off of it, like out of the frame now. So now there's just a big old hole in the door, and which is problematic because of my dogs. Like, what you got going on in it? Because like the compost, they smell the compost and then they want to dig at it. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
When would you suggest mm, like the onions need to be direct sown? And gosh, what else is it? I have all of my I have it categorized right over here. And this is still food talk because
It is.
we want to
Well, go ahead.
grow our own if we can.
Yes, definitely.
And leafy greens. Onions and leafy greens, which the leafy greens are going to go in the greenhouse. So I could technically go ahead and do those with all the rain. But
Yeah. Yes. I'm not, I am actually, I wasn't gonna do any leafy greens because I just don't really eat them and definitely nobody in my house is gonna eat them and I can't ferment them. I might could, but I don't think I can. I don't know. I've never, other than cabbage, I'm gonna definitely plant cabbage because I want to ferment and make sauerkraut. But as far as like lettuces and stuff, I don't I don't think those would be. Somebody may know how to ferment them and they'd be good, but I don't know. But I did see in the Super Gut book, he was talking about the prebiotics, which is
Mhm.
the food that the bacteria eat. So me only eating meat, I don't have prebiotics in my diet because I don't eat any plant matter. Um, so anyway, like turnips and stuff like that are good. So I've thought about planting some turnips so that I could, and I like turnips anyway, but um I'm gonna maybe plant some of those. I might be pushing it on if it's too late to plant or not though.
That's my thing is like I'm so like paranoid because you go from, oh, we have plenty of time to start these seeds to, oh no, we should have started them already. Like in a matter of a couple of days somehow, I don't know. It's like, but I'm just like that in my life. It's like, oh, I have plenty of time. I don't have to leave for another hour. Oh no, we're late.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's why, like, I have an alarm set on my phone for Sundays for 11 o'clock so that I know when that alarm goes off, I need to stop whatever I'm doing because I'm gonna find five things to do and get ready to go to pickleball. Like, 11 o'clock is my cutoff. Like, and it says on my alarm, time for pickleball.
yeah, I'm gonna have to
So,
leave a little bit early tomorrow, probably. I'm super bummed about it. There's my niece's birthday party is at 3. I was told about it last night. So that's why I'm bummed about it. It's like zero ahead of schedule time of knowing. And It's actually super complicated. My mother-in-law asked me if I was going, and I was like, I have heard nothing about it. And then all of a sudden, I was added to like two group texts where they had been discussing it and everybody had been invited. So I was like, now I feel weird because, like, and it's not like I'm not like, oh, they didn't want me there. It's like, well, what if they were trying to keep it small? And like it definitely didn't hurt my feelings that I wasn't invited because I hate coming to all functions. I just don't like functions. I don't like I'm a one-on-one type of person. One-on-one
Hmm.
with me anytime. Anytime. Let's go. Me and you. But like a whole group setting, I'm just gonna sit awkwardly in the corner and like twiddle my thumbs, you know? But so anyway, I have to go to that. I told him I'd be a little late. I have prior arrangements. But yeah.
Yeah, I'd still be able to get a couple of hours in as long as it's not super crowded. That's a few games.
Yeah, there's been nobody there lately. So,
Really?
yeah, but it being a weekend, it's the only weekend slot. So that could make a big difference for sure. We'll just have to show up and see how it goes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I got my new paddles and I haven't been able to go play yet.
Oh,
So
man.
this is my first weekend that I'm going to get to go play with my new paddles.
I can't wait to see them. Do you need a pickleball bag? I have an old pickleball bag. It's not old, actually. I had it for less than 6 months. It just wasn't big enough. So I got a
Um,
bigger one.
I mean, I have a bag that the paddles came in, and it holds the two paddles and like four balls. They had six fit in there, but I wasn't going to deal with all that mess, so I took two of them out.
All right.
So I guess technically I have a pickleball bag already.
All right, cool. Well, I just have an extra one that needs a home now. But coming back to the gardening thing, it didn't occur to me until you said something that you're a big gardener. You've always been a big gardener as long as I've known you. And but you are on the carnivore diet. You don't eat anything that you grow.
No, no, I don't. But I've always gardened because I've always loved to eat vegetables. Like my problem with vegetables is not that I don't like them. I love them.
Hmm.
But no, I don't eat anything that I grow. Now, I do use a lot of the herbs that I grow to make tea and stuff like that because I
Yeah.
do use, do herbal teas and stuff for whatever I'm needing, like if I'm anxious or can't sleep or bloated or, whatever. So I do still do a lot of herbal teas. So I
Like
use the herbs.
salves and stuff too, right?
Huh?
Like salves and stuff. You've made
Mhm.
like skin stuff before.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I do. I grow stuff that I use in that too. So,
That's awesome.
um, yeah, I have another friend that lives on one street over. It's so funny how once you once you start actually getting, to talk to people and get to know people, there's a lot of people that live, in a very small radius of me that, like Rachel. Rachel is literally 2 minutes down the road from me. And then another girl, her daughter is in band with my son, and we got to talking, and she makes a lot of the like salves and skin creams and stuff like that. So she's one street over from me. So we're all the time, swapping stuff out. And I'm like, hey, I've got some calendula. Do you have any of this? And, so. And usually, like if we give, like if she gives me something, I'm gonna make a salve with it, and I give her, a what do you call that? A little jar of the salve container, whatever. And she does the same for me. So
That's
we
awesome.
just,
When you
yeah,
say calendula, like calendula?
yes. Did I?
Okay.
I'm not sure which way you pronounce it.
Me
But
neither.
yeah, calendula,
Calendula.
calendula. I think
Calendula.
I've heard it actually both ways.
I mean, that's the
So
thing about words. It just kind of depends on where you are. I,
yeah.
I rant about it a lot about how miscommunication is such a problem. And a lot of it is due to people's closed-mindedness, essentially, of like not wanting to try to find common ground and just being so angular and like strict and rigid in the type of words they use and how they use them and how they feel other people should use them. And I don't know. We could solve a lot of our problems if people would just learn to read between the lines and meet people halfway rather than just, what are you talking about? I don't understand what you're saying. And then like, yeah. So
Yeah.
a part you can really tell the type of people I am forced to be around sometimes by how I talk, the things I come up with to talk about.
Yeah. I have an engineer at work that's like that. He's he tries to have humor, but he doesn't, and then he usually comes off as kind of a jerk. But he also has, like, he doesn't mince words. He's very straightforward. And a lot of people have a hard time with him because of that. I mean, I actually prefer it. I would rather, I'm like, I don't take hints and all of that stuff. Like, I would prefer you to just say, but he can be, like, one day, I had put my hair up in a ponytail at work and it was it was hair washing day, like we've discussed our hair washing situations. And so it was hair washing day. So my hair was oily and I'd put it up and I was sitting at my desk and he walks in and without saying anything else, he looks at me and he's like, "What did you do to your hair?" I said,
No.
"I put it up because it was getting on my nerves." And he said, "It looks wet." And I said, "Oh, it's hair washing day." He said, "Huh?" I was like, "It's hair washing day." He said, "Oh, your hair's greasy." I was like, "Yep, it is."
Show enough.
So yeah, so a lot of people have a problem with that. And like I said, it doesn't bother me. I prefer
Yeah.
direct communication, but
Me too.
there are times and I'm like, we could have just skipped this conversation altogether.
Yeah. I was thinking last night about I was like, I need to make a episode that's dedicated to the things that 15 years ago me would have just completely died about, that now me just like blasts for the world to see and know and whatever. And it's such a drastic change because, like, for example, hairy legs. I
Hmm.
15 years ago, I would have just rolled over and died if anybody noticed I had a single hair on my leg because, I'm not a mammal. It's not supposed to. And now, uh, uh, this past summer, it was like towards the end of the summer, so it wasn't like super long ago. I was at my friend's house, at their pool, and we were all sitting together by the pool, and her husband like leans over and pokes my leg, and I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "You didn't shave." And I was like, "No, sure didn't. Who's got time for that? Don't care. Why do you care? Why are you worried about my leg hairs?"
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I never would have been caught dead anywhere, like without shaving my legs or anything. I remember trying to like grow them out. I wanted to wax my legs.
Oh God.
And I had to, this is when I was a teenager. You have to grow them out. You can't wax non-existent hair. So you have to let it grow to like, I think an eighth of an inch or something like that. Anyway, I couldn't even do it. Like I couldn't let them grow that long just to wax them. Now, when they start getting caught in my pants legs, I'm like, okay, it's time to do something. But I mean, I am, oh, I got my blood work done and I am officially in perimenopause.
Okay.
So yeah, like now I have like chin hairs and stuff that I have to pluck. Like I'm worried about the hair on my face. I don't care about my legs.
Do you know what your blood type is yet?
I do not. I keep
Ah,
forgetting. I know my dad knows. So I keep forgetting to ask him. If I can I'll try to remember like to text him as soon as we get off of the call and see if that works. Or not works, but if he can remember. So,
Because I've heard this thing about how different blood types need different types of diets, and
Mhm.
how I had a friend who, because okay, so O O types essentially need more protein. They were historically like more hunter oriented, and so they survived off more protein. And then so I had this friend who her blood type was AB. And because I've been vegan like 3 times, right? Because
Mhm.
we went through that whole like trying to figure out food situation. And vegan, again, there's all this evidence out there that that's the way to go. And pr animal proteins are bad and clog up your arteries and all of these things. So I was trying to heal my body, was trying to eat better, and I was vegan like 3 different times because I had all the research in front of me, and that's what you're supposed to do. And it did not work for me. It did not work for me at all. I didn't have a whole lot of like gut issues or anything, but I was hungry all the time, no matter how much protein I got, plant protein. I was tired. It just didn't work for me. I couldn't, like, I was eating all the time. I was exhausted from eating. Like, and I'm the type of person, like, I'll get tired of eating and then just stop. Like, I might still be hungry, but I'm just like, this is way too much work. So just won't. We had crab legs last night for Valentine's Day, and the claw, that's everybody's favorite part. That's too much work
Mhm.
for me. So I try like I give everybody my claws and trade them for more legs. But
Right.
that's your example. Shrimp, if it's too much peeling involved, I'm done. I'd rather just eat the potatoes. But anyway, I had a friend who she was vegan for a while, also at the same point that I was, and we were trying to do this together, and we were food prepping, meal prepping together, and she thrived off of just the plant protein and no meat. And her blood type was AB, which according to this theory, because we Googled it back then and looked into it back then, it was accurate. So I haven't done a whole lot of like research into it, but it's just fun for me now to talk to people and their various food needs and what works best for them, and then to cross-reference it with their blood type to see if it's still tracking or not.
I'll have to see what my blood type is
I would
just to see.
so, considering that the carnivore diet works for you.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't think that I'm any type of the O.
Okay.
I don't think I am, if I'm remembering, but I don't know if I'm A, B, positive, negative, anything like that. But I'm pretty sure I'm not an O type.
Carnivore diet works for me too.
Mm,
Blake's been trying to do more of that because he's my food problem for sure.
mm,
Because I have a hard time feeding myself for various reasons.
mhm,
Um, but he has no problem feeding everybody. So he's the cook. He cooks every day. He
mm.
pretty much cooks every day. And but since he's started to get more health conscious, um, he's starting to move towards, and the only thing he can do is eat more meat because he's a meat and potatoes guy. So he's like, well, I can compromise with this and just eat meat moving forward.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been working on is more carnivore diet, but it's a hassle. God, it's a hassle.
It really is, especially if you're the type of person who needs variety in your life, like when it comes to your food. Like it doesn't bother me really to eat just ground beef every day. Because honestly, that's like the easiest thing to do is to cook 5 pounds of ground beef on Sunday and divide it up in a bunch of containers, and then all week long, I just eat that. Um, because especially because nobody else in my house eats that way and I'm cooking dinner for them. Like I hate cooking two dinners. It's just a pain. So it's not that big of a hassle for me if I just meal prep it and just cook a bunch all on the weekend. I don't always do that, but it definitely helps. I'm sorry, hold on one second.
You're
I
good.
gotta mute it or something.
I'll pause this.
So meal prepping, oh gosh. Um, but now if I needed to like cook shrimp and steak and eggs and all of that stuff every day, it would be a big hassle.
I think you're a
So
saint for cooking. Like the fact that you cook every day at all, I can't. I can't. I get so mad at food, and that's so mad at food. So mad at food. I just want to take all of my thoughts and just telepathically translate them to everybody and like so I don't have to find words to talk about how much food makes me angry and how mad I am that we have to eat 3 times a day. That is so obnoxious. And then on top of
yeah.
that, nothing, everything's poison. You can't get around it. So, like the energy of believing, the belief system of everything is poison, how does that affect our microcosm on the inside, like our gut health and like, because you know how everything interacts with everything. So if we believe, like the placebo effect, right?
Yeah.
If we
Hmm.
believe that everything's poison, then in fact, does that make it be more poisonous? Does that make it have more of a hold on us? Whereas if we believe, um, who was, I think I had a guest on that I think that's where I had this conversation the other day. Yes, yeah, I think it was Stacy Andon maybe, but she was talking about how her grandfather was an alcoholic and lived to be into his like late 90s and never had any kind of problems with like his liver or any of the other problems that they say you get from alcoholism. And I laughed and was talking about belief systems and I was like no, I'm Irish. And then I was thinking later, I was like, was that racist of me? To be like, I'm implying that, the stereotype that the Irish like to drink. Sorry if anybody's offended by that. I myself have Irish in me and I like to drink and I use this. And this is where it comes from is that I tell myself I choose to have the belief that since I have Irish blood in me, alcohol problems aren't a problem for me. They don't apply. So if we take the belief systems and apply it to food and be like, well, it doesn't apply to me because of this reason or that reason, just make a reason up. It doesn't matter. As long as you believe it, like that's all it's required to work. You can completely like, well, um, my favorite color is green, so green vegetables aren't like they can't possibly bother me.
No,
Doesn't
green
have to make
vegetables.
sense. It doesn't have to make any sense because the way our brains work and the placebo effect, our bodies are going to do whatever our brain tells it to do. So perhaps we have so many bodily food issues these days because we're so bombarded with all of the conflicting information and all of the over information. Yeah, I think it's just too much information on like how poisonous food is.
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody is so passionate about their belief system that they can, I mean, there's times like I'm really like people can be convincing. Like you hear somebody really talking passionately about what they believe, and like you have to watch it because I can get on board. I'm like, yeah, yeah, hell yeah, that makes sense. I'll be
There's
I'll be turning into a vegan before I know it.
there's this one he's a he used to be my martial arts instructor. Uh
Mm.
he never will be again, let me tell you what. Uh but he got on the carnivore diet a few years ago And instead of just, minding your own business and being on the carnivore diet like normal people should be, you know, he, all of his content on social media turned from martial arts to how stupid vegans were and how
Yeah.
carnivore diet's the only way to go. And like people really get on these bandwagons of, uh, it's like us versus them. And if you don't do the way we do, then you're stupid, you're a complete idiot. And that is just rampant in the world right now.
It is, but like you're never going to change anybody's mind by telling them they're stupid.
No,
Like,
no, you're not.
I mean, if you want to tell somebody, your opinion, then that's fine. You can present evidence and you can disagree with someone without making them feel dumb.
That
And
makes too much sense, Brandy.
huh,
That just makes too much sense.
I know. You
If
just
it were that
take your
simple, the world would be sunshine and rainbows all the time now. Everybody get along,
um,
peace on earth.
well, it's easier to just take your opinion and bash somebody over the head with it than it is to like have a back and forth conversation and try to see somebody else's point of view.
That's true.
So,
That's true. I've historically been told I was too much. And I was thinking about this morning because, I've so many times and like I've never understood like what does that mean? What does it mean? And nobody can give me a straight answer that anybody who's ever said it to me could never give me a straight answer that even remotely gave me any inkling of like what they were talking about and how I could be less. Like, can you please explain to me like what that means that I'm too much? But it's dawned on me recently that you're right. That's exactly why I'm too much because I can't just take things for face value or oh okay that's just how things are. I guess that's just how things are or oh okay new and I want to go back and forth and discuss it and see
yeah,
what we can figure out and oh well does that make sense? I don't know. Let's see if we can look at it from this or that and it is exhausting for sure.
yeah, it is. Um, Me and one of my friends, well, two of my friends, we live in totally different parts of the country and we have totally different political views. And she wasn't, one day she had mentioned we don't usually even talk politics, but that day she was just, this is not food related. Sorry. But
We need to do a politics episode, you and I.
ooh, I don't know about that
Scary.
one gets very touchy. But
We just make it like 4 hours long so nobody will listen to
right, yeah.
it.
But she had brought up how she disagreed and disliked the political party that I voted for. And, I was like, well, I'm not really sure because I voted for that person. And she immediately started apologizing. And she's like, I'll never bring up politics again. I am so sorry. I didn't know. And I'm like, it's okay. Like, I'm fine with you stating your opinion. If you want to have a conversation about it, we can do that. Like, you don't have to believe what I believe and vote the way that I vote to still be my friend. It's all right. We can talk about it. Because honestly, like some days, all of them just suck anyway. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Um, I like how Joe Rogan put it one time. He was like, politicians are actors that aren't attractive. They weren't attractive enough to make it in Hollywood, so they became politicians.
that's funny.
I like it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
had, yeah, I can't talk politics with most people because it's such a touchy subject because we're so, it, yeah, it's that cognitive dissonance. We don't, we've made an opinion about the things that we think that we know about and we can't discuss those things and keep our mind open to different possibilities. And then the system itself has worked really hard to make sure that everybody's on a team, and what team are you on, and who do you root for? And you know, like uh, you have football team fanatics, right? Like, we're in Alabama, so we'll say you have people whose entire identity is based off of Alabama football. And
Roll Tide.
yeah, Roll Tide, War Eagle,
Yep.
and
Yep.
their entire essence is Auburn sucks, and you're an idiot if you root for Auburn. And so you take that mindset and people apply it to politics, and you really should not do that. That is so problematic. You should think of it in a business sense of the government works for you. The government works for the people. They're supposed to. And
Supposed to.
we're supposed to be their bosses, not the other way around. And if you're doing a crappy job, then you deserve to be fired and, someone else replace you. And who, we should do a politics episode for sure. But but it's crazy that people get like this with food and vegan versus carnivore diet. Like y'all are like if we're fighting about what vegan or like I'm on team vegan and you're on team carnivore, if we're fighting about that, we're both idiots.
Yep. Pretty much, yes. Because, I mean, we shouldn't be telling other people what to eat.
We can't
We
tell
should be
people
eating,
what to eat.
no,
That's the
we should be
thing. You have to
telling,
experiment with your own body and see what works for you.
yeah. Yep. I keep hearing a goose, and I don't know where that sound is coming from. It's so distracting. I'm so sorry.
You have a geese?
No. I think my husband got a goose call in the mail today. I keep getting a notification for the camera outside, so I could pretty much bet he's outside practicing his goose call. Sorry. I have a hard time filtering out like
I do too.
distractions sometimes. Um, we were talking about we going at each other over diet styles, and we shouldn't be telling, oh yeah, we shouldn't be telling, you shouldn't be telling me what to eat, and I shouldn't be telling you what to eat. We should both be trying to figure out what works for our own bodies.
Hmm.
That's what we were talking about.
Yeah, that's
So,
what I'm a big advocate in food journaling because a lot of our problem is we don't even notice what we're putting in our bodies. We don't even
no.
know like what we're eating and how it's making us feel. We're mindlessly snacking on whatever's around, and then an hour later our stomach's bothering us and there's zero connection that it might be what we had eaten an hour ago. We don't even consider it. That it's like, oh, I used to think that part of being female was that your stomach hurt every single day.
Mm,
I just thought that was normal. I just for years, I'm talking like probably 15 years, from the time I was like 12. I don't know. It's like early, as long as I can remember, until I was like 25. Um, my stomach hurt every single day, and I just thought that was normal. I thought that was just part of being female. Because I guess it did happen, like started around puberty. So I was like,
yeah,
oh, okay. Well, that's just, I
those
guess this is
cramps.
what life is for us girls. But then I started figuring out food, and no, no, it's not. Not at all. But people don't have a clue what they're supposed to eat. When I first got diagnosed with my soy allergy, my family still can't wrap their head around it. Um, it's they're still like, well, I don't understand. What can you eat? I'm like, just not processed foods. It's not
Right.
processed foods and nothing fried in vegetable oil. It's really not that hard, but they just
Yeah.
can't wrap their head around it.
I'm sorry.
You're okay.
Stop it. Yeah, because most vegetable oil is really just soybean oil, and so therefore, if you have a soy allergy,
Anytime
you
we need
can't
to
have it.
go, or anytime you need to go, or. we need to pause or whatever, just let me know. No big deal.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a lot of like short noises, like the dog barking and then banging on the, when he scratches, he hits the floor with his foot, so it's really loud.
We can't hear anything
Um,
here, so
okay, good,
Mike's
good.
not picking up anything but you.
Okay, good. Um, so where were we at? I'm sorry.
Um, when I was a teenager, there was a point talking earlier in the episode when you were talking about your stepmom micromanaging everything that you intook. I also had the same thing. For about a year and a half, I was only allowed to eat salads.
Mm,
But that, because, because my mom thought that we needed to get my weight under control. And nobody ever told me that you gained weight by eating too much food. I had no idea that this was something that blindsided me when I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13. And then, so we were at school and all of the kids at my lunch table, like, there was always somebody who didn't want their cheeseburger. So I would eat my cheeseburger and theirs. And there
yeah.
was always like girls, especially, who didn't want their cookies. And like now I understand what they were doing, and it makes me super sad for, the children that we were at the time dealing with these body image problems. But
Hmm.
I had no idea, because I'm oblivious to anything that hasn't been outright told to me. Um,
Right.
and so I was eating my cookie plus their cookies and that cookie, and I had no idea that that's why I was bigger than everybody else in my grade. And so when I was like 13, 14, something like, my mom tried to get my weight under control, and I was only allowed to eat salad for like a year and a half. And she has zero recollection of this, by the way. I mentioned it to her like a year ago, and she scoffed at me and told me I was ridiculous. But anyway, um, the problem is that they were all fried chicken salads drenched in ranch dressing and cheese. So
Yeah.
like my weight it did not fluctuate. It didn't go down at all. And what ended up happening is I got so sick of eating these salads that I just quit eating altogether. And that's when I first started having issues with deprivation. And man, I went from a size 16 to a size 10 in one summer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, the salads worked. No, they didn't.
I was just, I was just not eating, Mom.
Yeah, just stopped eating. It was fine. But
Gosh.
that's the thing though, is that we don't most people don't even have a clue where to begin with eating. They think dieting is deprivation and salads, and it's not. And like, the fried chicken on the salad is counteracting the lettuce, so like it doesn't matter. Um, I don't believe in dieting in the traditional sense, like starving yourself and cutting things out. I believe in crowding out.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, you don't worry about, don't stress over changing what you're already eating. Continue eating how you're eating. Just start adding more of the good stuff in instead of the bad stuff. So like if you eat a whole container of baby carrots, then you're less likely to go grab the little Debbie cakes for a snack later. It's just a crowding out. And that's what I believe in with everything. So not only diet, but also like mindset and belief systems and healing, the more because healing the trauma and whatnot, a lot of that is programming our brain to stop replaying the situation and scenarios. We got that movie, that episode of the thing that happened on repeat in our head all the time. So, and it's so close at hand because we've replayed it so many times that sure, a bunch of stuff reminds us of it because it's still
Mhm.
so close to us. But the less we think about it, the less we replay it in our heads, the less things remind us of it because it's not so close at hand anymore. And then eventually, believe it or not, because I've had people like, how do you know when you're healed? I was like, well, you literally forget that the thing happened. And that's crazy for some people to think like, oh, I could never forget. And it's like, it's not so much that you, what? That didn't happen. It's not that type of forgetting. It's like a, oh, right. Wow, I forgot. Forgot about that. And like at least
Yeah.
you notice that's like, oh wow. Like when you are reminded of it, you're like, oh wow, man, I haven't thought about that in months. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I haven't thought about that in months. That's great. Go me. I'm healing.
Yeah, when you're not just sitting and ruminating over it over and over and over again every single day.
Yeah,
So it takes it
a
takes
lot.
time and it takes work, and I'm still working on it, but I think I've come quite a ways
You
from
have.
where I was.
You sure have.
So
I'm so proud
yeah,
of you.
thank
So
you.
proud of
I'm
both.
proud of me too.
Good.
So, but yeah. It's crazy. It's so wild that we actually met just because I'm like on the internet a long, long time ago, probably drunk and crying and like how to heal trauma, or trauma informed yoga in Athens, Alabama, and I'm like, oh, there's Savannah. That's who I'm gonna go see.
Yes. And now look at us.
I know, doing podcasts together and shit.
Love it. I super love it. I've been trying so hard to find like people in my real because I mean, I don't know. It's like a catch 22. Um, if you listen to the episode that could be a drinking game yet,
I don't know. I think I might have. Was it the one, was it the last one?
I think so. I think it was this last one. I'm trying not to give any identifying factors because I'm not into like blasting people. I bless their heart. You know, that's all I see. I'm like, I'm not mad that all they try like because they were trying to sell their item, sell their thing. And
Mm,
so I I'm sad that they are where they are with their mindset. But also, um, well, I want to say, like, I remember when I was like that, but I don't think I was ever like that. I've always felt weird about selling my stuff. So I've never been a promotional person because it feels
mm-mm.
icky to me. It's always felt icky to me. If I'm just here to have a good time and talk about the things I like to talk about, which is really hard to find people in real life to talk about these things because for most people it's just too much, Brandy. We're too much. Okay.
Yeah,
Just let
yeah.
things go. Can't we just move on? Can't we just be happy with our life and our not knowing? Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, most people look at you crazy when you talk about talking to your plants and the energy that goes into growing your food. And, am I the problem? Like, nobody wants to think about maybe they're the problem. So at least, with me and you might tell me, Brandy, you're not the problem, but at least I can have that conversation with you. Like, could I possibly be like, because a lot of people don't even want to talk about that.
They don't, and it can be so discouraging when you're like, tr so, you're trying to find people to connect with. You're trying to fill this void of loneliness inside and disconnect. And like, why can I not connect to anybody? And, you know, I've got 33 years behind my belt of being told I am the reason and I am the problem. So that gets in your head and you're like, am I? Am I the problem? Well, I don't want to be the problem. So how am I the problem? But then nobody will talk to you about how you're the problem. And if they do, they say the same things like, let's see, what are the things I've always been told? Um, it's my tone. I'm too straightforward. Um, self-centered. I don't know. I don't know. I can't remember at this point. But nobody will talk to you about how you're the problem, so you don't know how to fix the problem. And so then you're trying to identify the problem yourself, and it's just exasperated by nobody like I need some input. Can I bounce this off of somebody? And so I went to therapy. I went to therapy trying to figure out how I was the problem because nobody would give me any solid concrete like, Savannah, this is how you're the problem right here. And this
Yeah,
is how I need you to stop doing this so that we can still be sisters, family members. Um, and that's not, if anybody's listening that's related to me, that is not a point at my actual sister. I adopt a lot of people as my siblings that are absolutely not my siblings. Um, but I went to therapy because nobody would talk to me. They were just like, you're just too much. You're just too much, Savannah. You're just too much. I'm like, well, how? 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 And my therapist actually ended up ghosting me. So,
that sounds
it
like
did
a
not help heal any problems that I was having. It definitely exasperated them first for a while. But
right, because if you're like, well, damn, if my therapist is if I'm even too much for my therapist, holy crap.
yeah,
So,
yeah. But I think what
yeah,
it is that I just I'm so obsessed with being the best me that I possibly can be that for one, it that irritates people. Like if you're healing and in the personal development world, you hear about this all the time. If you are actively trying to heal your shortcomings, it will activate and it'll irritate everybody else who is actively avoiding healing their shortcomings. Does that make
yeah,
sense? Like
yes,
you trigger them because they know they should be trying to do better, but they're actively not trying to do better. So you make them feel insecure. And they don't even realize that this is what's going on. They just know that you make them feel uncomfortable.
yeah, yeah. There's that, and also like, but I wanted to say, let me switch back for a minute. Talking about when people tell you you're too much, and you're like, but how am I too much? The problem with that is like if it's something that you're doing, like, if you're a pathological liar, well, you're too much because I can't stand your lies, you lie all the time. Yeah, that's one thing that you might want to work on. But if it's just, because you're straightforward, if it's something like actually with you, who you are as a person, if you change that though, you still, like for me, this is how I felt. I still feel lonely and disconnected from people because I'm not actually being myself. I'm like, I'm just fitting in, but I'm not, like, you don't know me. You don't know really who I am. I'm just sitting here pretending and being, you know, complacent and letting you, so that you're comfortable. And
Uh-huh.
so you still have that problem if you're, not really being yourself.
Yep. And that's one of the reasons I started the podcast is that um just trying to have real conversations with people about the things that and just trying to find connection. And turns out the other people in the world that are too much are my people and they like to do podcasts. So here we are. But they're hit and miss, not all podcasts are good. Not all episodes are good. You don't really know what you're getting into until you start doing the episode. And like some days I can't formulate words and I can't get my thoughts to straighten out. And today's a little bit one of those days, actually. I'm having a hard time like formulating thoughts and getting them streamlined into words. But I mean, you just show up as yourself and whoever you are today and do your best. And that's how we all should do every day. Just show up as whoever you are today and accept that we're all human and that if I make a fool of myself today, then Okay, maybe I won't tomorrow. But we talked about this last episode. We're going to make a fool of ourselves. It's going to
Oh
happen. Just accept it. It's part of being a human. Whatever. People are going to
yeah,
like you or they're not going to like you. And one or two blunders is not going to change anything. Either they're going to like you or they're not. And if they decided that they don't, then there's nothing you can do to make them. And if they've decided that they do, they're going to be a little lenient on you. A little, we're human. It's okay.
yeah. Well, and plus, just showing or people seeing where you mess up sometimes it makes them more comfortable to be themselves too because they
Yeah.
don't feel the need to be perfect around you because you're not perfect either, you know.
Yep.
So
That's
there's
my goal,
that.
making people feel comfortable because I just want people to feel like they can also be themselves because that's where the magic is. Because we're all, that's why we're dieting, isn't it? Is we want to feel comfortable in our bodies. We want to feel comfortable as ourselves. And it's hard, we think that dieting and sculpting our body is going to get us there. But the thing is that it's not. We're going to feel exactly the same as we did. And like with this body or that body, and it may fluctuate how comfortable we are a little bit, but for the most part, our confidence isn't within our body, it's within our personality and the choices we make and who we are. So you're going to have more confidence if regardless to whether your body changes, if you make the good food choice today, then you're going to have more confidence because you're happy with who you are. You're happy with the choice you made. You're happy with the direction that you're moving towards. And that just comes with that confidence comes along with that.
Hmm.
And it may be minuscule at first, but it compounds. Like you might not even notice, like, there's no confidence with this. What are you talking about? But like there's a little bit there. There's a few drops, but it compounds on itself and adds up, pennies add up. And then if you made the bad food choice today, then that's going to make you feel even more insecure for the rest of the day because now you're beating yourself up. Now you feel bad about who you are. Now you feel bad about the directions and the choices that you made. So, and you can do so in that sense, taking food completely out of the equation, you're going to feel better about yourself if you say you have a few moments of downtime, you have the choice of do I take out my phone and scroll on Facebook for 10 or 15 minutes? Or do I take out my phone and do a Duolingo lesson and work on my Spanish for 10 or 15 minutes? And that in itself, do I take out my phone and read my book on my Kindle app for 10 or 15 minutes? The choice that you make there is going to influence your insecurities or your confidence levels. Food doesn't have to be a part of it at all. And then eventually, all of the other things compound so much to where you don't care as much about your physical appearance. And that's crazy for people to think because we're such a physically focused culture and society. But like as someone who has struggled with physical appearance my whole life, I've never been, you were talking earlier, my family was also 100 pounds soaking wet, except for me. Except for
Yeah.
me. I also took after my dad's side, got the big bones or whatever you want to call it. And
Yeah.
got
Got that thicker bone structure.
them, that baby making body. And I mean, like if I worked crazy hard and sure, I could probably get my body closer to what I wish it was. But honestly, do I want to work that hard? No. Do I want to forego the pizza? No, I want to eat the pizza. I want to eat the tacos.
Yeah.
I'm not much into sweets, just I've never been much into sweets. But um my stomach, like the bottom half, especially where uh my son, the way when I was pregnant with him, the way he laid, his he was like slanted with like head down, slanted, with his head like he'd stick his legs straight out. So his legs would be up in my ribs up here, and then his head would be pushing into my stomach. So it's stretched out on the left side from that
Yeah.
still. He'll be 10 in April, and it is still stretched out on the left side from that. So I used to be super, super, super self-conscious about it. I'm still a little bit self-conscious about it, for sure. I'm human. But for
Mhm.
the most part, I don't think about it anymore. I'm like, I've accepted that I'm human, and that means I have a human body, and it's probably never, and if I worked super hard and was very strict with my routines and my exercise and my, which, like I'm super active and I eat
Yeah.
really good just naturally. Um, I say naturally, and I don't know what that means. I eat, it's intentional, but at this point, there's not a lot of work behind it. It's just how I eat, and it's just what I do. I play pickleball, I teach yoga, and I exercise at home a lot because I get stiff from sitting at my desk all day. So a lot of times I'll move my chair and take my daughter's tumbling mat and lay it out in front of my desk. And so I'll work at my desk on my knees, stretch, do some twists, like push-ups against like inclined push-ups. Stuff like that
Hmm.
feels good for me at this point because I'm active and my body starts to hurt if I'm not active enough. So, anyway, it's like, well, I mean, I guess I could go get a nose job, but that's kind of a lot of money and surgery and stuff. So, like, maybe it's easier to just accept that this is the nose that I have and that there's nothing I can really do about it and that that's okay. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh,
Do you want to wrap this up? We've been going for a really long time.
yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, we did have the pause in the middle, but yeah, I think so. My husband's home from work now, and so I think I'm going to go talk to him for a few minutes and try to get out there and get the asparagus dug up before it starts raining.
I should probably also get in the garden and do something today. I had thought about it
Yeah.
when I woke up. We'll
Well,
see.
I went out. I was going to, and then I went outside earlier, and it was still like 50 something degrees and really windy, so it was a little
Yeah.
chilly, and I was like, me. So,
Yeah, they're talking about
um,
tornadoes tonight
yeah,
and
I
then
know.
snow next week. Welcome to Alabama.
For real, we got 70s and tornadoes one week and snow the next. And then
Uh,
it's supposed to get back up in the 60s again, like 3 days, 2 or 3 days after it snows. So it's just bipolar weather.
it is. That's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Bye.
And then we do have those links down low that we were talking about earlier. So just wanted to throw
Yeah.
that in quick. So if you want to make your own yogurt, or especially with the that really good bacteria, because bacteria can be good.
Oh, I wanted to say real quick though, in the recipe link, it has a link for inulin, which is a prebiotic for the bacteria so that they, grow. But in the book, he says that you can use like bob meals or red meals. It's a potato starch.
Okay.
So it's a bit cheaper than the inulin that's in the link
Okay.
by like 50%. So you can also use that.
Awesome. Cool, cool,
Okay.
cool. And if you'd send me the link to that, because it's easier because I'm barely following, but
Okay.
I guess I
All right.
could
Yeah,
get,
I'll send it to you.
okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.